Is the Trump regime handing over inadvertently exhibits to plaintiffs who are representing the migrants who were kidnapped and sent to the El Salvador extermination camps led by authoritarian leader there, Nayib Bukele? Let me show you, Harry, what I think will be now used as exhibits in the cases to show, one, what efforts are being taken, or I should say not being taken, to comply with the Supreme Court's 9-0 ruling, facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia, but also more broadly in the other case, Judge Boasberg's case, where there are contempt proceedings showing the contemptible behavior as well. I want to talk about that. Then in the same kind of section, I think that we should talk about with Senator Van Hollen going to El Salvador and now being a firsthand witness. Now he'll be able to submit affidavits about what he observed. And as these federal judges saying, we're doing this by the federal rules, admissible evidence, not hearsay. And so now do we have firsthand observations? And so more than just securing this meeting with Abrego Garcia, has Senator Van Hollen geniusly made himself kind of a key witness to help the plaintiffs in that case. So let's break it down. So Exhibit 1, we'll do this like trial lawyers, Harry. Exhibit 1, the Trump regime White House posted the following on Friday morning. They took the New York Times front page and the headline that says, Senator meets with wrongly deported Maryland man in El Salvador. And then the Trump regime says in their post, their tweet or their whatever you call it now, fixed it for you, New York Times. Oh, and by the way, he's not coming back. Well, that doesn't sound like facilitate. That sounds like it would be an exhibit. And then they crossed off the words wrongly deported on the New York Times cover and Maryland man and replaced it by MS-13 illegal alien. And then they wrote who's never coming back. So let's look at that as the first exhibit. The second exhibit is the photo that was posted by Nayib Bukele, the authoritarian leader of El Salvador. The photo of Senator Van Hollen shaking Abrego Garcia's hand. Senator Van Hollen then held a press conference on Friday where he talked about how Bukele was trying to stage this scene first poolside to make it look like they were like having a vacation together and Abrego was being treated great. Yeah. And then he moved him into this room with, a nice background and gave him margaritas to act like they were drinking and partying and having a good time. But while Nayib Bukele's going, checkmate, checkmate, I got you. Wouldn't that also, though, be viewed as a potential exhibit to show how you can facilitate the return if you could do that? So why don't we start with those two first, and then I'll go to another one. But let's start with the rules of evidence. What do you make of it, Harry?
All right. Well, so it's a really interesting point. I'm sure they didn't think about it. And they are going by the rules of evidence, but with a discovery kind of regime. So, you got declarations, you got maybe requests for admissions, you got depositions. The tricky thing here is, remember, did the administration to introduce that contrived meeting between Bukele and Trump, and she rejected. No, we're going by the book. So I can see that one day being a piece of evidence at a trial if it comes to it. But I think for now, she's going to insist on the U.S.'s answering what they've been held to answer, and imagine otherwise the kind of stuff they might be permitted to put in that's self-serving. Of course, you're right that there's, different evidentiary rules if you're offering yourself or it's offered ahead of you. But my sense, and all of this stuff, Ben, it's kind of happening day by day, but she wants a really tightly controlled by the book. And, the whole time, every day, Stephen Miller and others and Bondi and Kristen Levitt have been saying crazy stuff that would be, you could go to town with potentially in a trial. But my sense anyway is she wants a really tightly controlled federal rules of evidence as they apply to discovery, rules 26, 27, et cetera. And so I think that'll play for public consumption, but not for her. But, it's the Wild West a little bit there now, right? And so
let me play devil's advocate with you here, though, because if you were just to say, hey, judge, here's what went down, look at these photos on social media, the way the Trump DOJ lawyers were trying to do in that first meeting, well, there's no declarations. You're just pointing to news articles and photos. But my point is, Senator Van Hollen was there. He observed these things firsthand. He can now do affidavits by the rule. Because let's be real. Do you think the Trump regime people who testify under the deposition are going to say, well, let me tell you everything. I know I'm under oath, so let me just spill the beans. Or do you think, Harry, the Trump people are going to take their depositions and they're going to say, I don't recall, I don't know, objection, executive privilege, whatever they're going to do. Every single thing.
I think they'll really play her unless and until it goes up to the court. So that much I think is right. And we'll see them. They'll try to bring emergency appeals. All that is right. And maybe you're right, Ben, but what she has set out for them to do, you've got to tell me finally. You've been stalling every day. What have you done to try to bring him out? And what do you plan to do? And is he alive, et cetera? And that goes a little bit to the last one. By the way, if I can, I see the point on Evan. Why the hell did he do it? I'm talking about Bukele. I don't quite get, and my supposition is he doesn't lift his pinky without permission from Washington. Why did they want to walk him out and have drinks with his shaved head covered with Van Hollen?
So what my sources were telling me is that Senator Van Hollen gave this speech invoking international law, and that there's a requirement that someone who's held in a situation like that be afforded a lawyer, and there could be real repercussions. Let's not forget, El Salvador is not a wealthy nation, okay? It is a poor Latin American nation. Its economy relies almost significantly. A big portion is tourism. One of the big criticisms about Bukele among the authoritarian stuff, though, is CCOT, the prison. A lot of the money that was used was actually delegated for social services by the prior administration that Bukele then used for CCOT. So there was a desire to, what he's worried about is CCOT, Bukele. CCOT's his baby. And so he moved Abrego from CCOT to another facility, so that's because he doesn't want to lose CCOT.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Right now, that's the national image. The international image of El Salvador is CCOT.
He wanted, in his own mind, an exit out of that, look like he's in control, say checkmate, look, the guy's doing great, ha ha ha. And then make that move. That's my view of it, Harry, what he was doing there. And I think that when you think about it like that, it makes sense. Let me ask you two more questions. So
sorry. And we'll see how it unfolds on the evidence stuff. But it just seems to me she's going really narrow, thin gauged, and 2 weeks. Go ahead. We'll try.
Donald Trump at a press conference today in the Oval Office that was cut short when like a 6-year-old fainted during this. He was like Dr. Oz, someone related to Dr. Oz. Trump's also mentioning, I've got these documents, they're certified, the State Department gave it to me. And if I'm the lawyers on this case who have been ordered into expedited discovery, turn those over right now. I want those notes. What are they handing you? And then, so Trump is also creating a document trail. Here, watch this.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject, right? So you're talking about Abrego Garcia. Is that the one? Yeah. Is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist. This comes out of the State Department and very legitimate sources. I mean, I assume I'm just giving you what they handed to me, but this was supposed to be certified stuff.
How much do you want to bet that document in his hand will probably be destroyed? Think about it. You're the lawyer. Trump's going to destroy that record. That's a presidential record. So whatever he just held in his hand, that now is discovery. That has to be preserved. Sure. It's coming from the State Department, and it's being handed for a press conference. So to me, there's an exception to any executive privilege. He's reading. Whatever it is. There's no. So that's an issue, huh?
I think so. And, he's got, remember, his special presidential toilet to flush things down. But that's not the only copy. I do want to say they're making such a big deal. MS-13, that's for public consumption. But, besides that everything they're saying, and Pam Bondi here is really being tawdry. But besides that, everything they're saying doesn't hold up. It's double hearsay, and the cop was discharged after. It just doesn't matter. I don't care if the prosecution thinks that he committed 9/11. You gotta bring him back and give due process if they can. So all these arguments really are I know they try to play on the public, but they I think backfire for Judge Zinnes. The obvious thing is fine. Bring it on, show it to me. And by the way, what's this foreign policy shit that you refuse to say anything when you're showing the pictures of the prison, of the inmates, now of this and your information to the world? That's going to really undermine the general idea of, it's all foreign policy, so you can't touch it.
And Harry, Abrego Garcia had a work permit.
Yeah.
Do you know who gave him the work permit? The 2019 immigration judge in Trump's ICE in 2019. So if they thought this guy was the ringleader of MS-13 or whatever, right. Trump was in office in 2019, in 2020, and for a little bit of 2021 before Biden's inauguration. And the judge said, yeah, you know what? There are this immigration judge. There are these accusations. You could deport this guy if you want to. A withholding order, not to El Salvador, but while he remains, he seems like he could be a productive member of society. And we're going to give him a work permit. And the guy would voluntarily show up to the ICE office with his work permit. If the moment you start, it's a bit of a red herring, because the time it took me to explain that in a sentence, it's easier to go, terrorist, you support terrorism. And that's kind of the problem with data consumption today. But that's why evidence matters. It's why you do what you do, what I do. And at the end of the day, we're a nation of laws and due process. That's the system. You don't
well, that's right. And now we're on two arenas now. So they're saying, we love this, bring it on. Democrats love terrorists, etc. They are now at the point. I mean, we really see them at the precipice in both these cases. They're going to get orders issued. They're going to, be brought to heel, or they're not. So, to me, at least at this moment, all the sort of side talk about how it's playing politically, the real big fight, and I mean politically as well as legally now, is about whether or not they're going to follow what the courts say. If they don't, all bets are off. And, if they do, we dodged a cannonball.
There you have it. We'll keep you posted with more information. Very deep dive into rules of evidence there, Harry Litman.
Exactly. I used to teach evidence. Okay.
It was one of my favorite courses.
Yeah. All right.
I didn't take it from you, though. I took it from a professor who was I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he was the docent of this Air and Space Museum, and he gave us a great tour. And he was a big Shakespeare scholar. Anyway, make sure you hit subscribe here and subscribe to Harry Litman's Substack, Harry Litman's YouTube, and Harry Litman's podcast. It's called Talking Feds. Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Fed podcast. It's where I get my legal news from. Subscribe.
Thanks, Ben.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.